the interesting thing is the amount of what people will do to feel confident about themselves, right? And competence creates confidence. And so what that means is developing the skills. So if you want to do anything in life, you just got to figure out the skills. You want to be amazing at basketball? Okay, how's your footwork? How's your shooting? How's your defense? How's your offense? How's your teamwork? Those are all skills. And if you just elevate them, you become a pretty good player.
Right.
If you want to be a healthy individual, okay, what are the habits and skills I need to learn? And let's just, repeat and rinse them until they become automatic.
Welcome to the Audacious Living Podcast, hosted by my man, Audley Stevenson, the Odd Man. He'll unpack wisdom and insights from a cross-section of top quality performers in business, media, sports, entertainment, and lifestyle to uncover key elements to help you live your best audacious life ever. So without further ado, here is the Odd Man.
Greetings and salutations, folks. It's Audley Stevenson back for another edition of the most audacious podcast you'll find on the internet. This is the Audacious Living Podcast, and I appreciate you for being here as we continue our ongoing goal of helping our listeners live their best audacious lives ever. I encourage you to connect with us through our social media channels. Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook is where you can find us. And if you happen to be watching this episode on YouTube, then you know that you can subscribe to our channel by hitting that bell, ding, ding, ding. And that way you're connected to all good things audacious related. Now, on this episode of the podcast, I've got fitness expert and trainer Marcus Mackay hanging out with me. And again, I appreciate you taking some time to hang out on the Audacious Living Podcast. And as a fitness coach, Marcus helps people achieve the body of their dreams through fitness, nutrition, and mindset coaching. And look, the reality is that better health ultimately comes down to the healthy habits that we create. So we've got to create healthy habits for ourselves. And let's be honest, it's our unhealthy habits that, have gotten us to where we are. And I throw myself in that mix. We've got to get better collectively. I've got my own personal work to do. And I hear you. It is a struggle, but it's something that we all have to be committed to, because positive health starts with us and the things that we do, and more specifically, the habits that we create and maintain on a daily basis. I absolutely love chatting with Marcus. He's a down-to-earth guy. His delivery is straight to the point, which I think is the best way with this kind of stuff. So without any further ado, here's my conversation with Marcus Mackay. Enjoy. Hey, Marcus, appreciate you joining me here on the Audacious Living Podcast, man. Thanks for being here.
Man, I'm super excited for this. I know you got a ton of energy and lots of wisdom, so I'm pumped for this conversation.
Well, my hope is we're able to pull out some of your wisdom and tap into some of your specialty a bit. So please don't hold back, okay?
I don't plan on holding anything back on you. I'm going to deliver.
Got you. So you have a clear dedication to fitness and nutrition and health. As a starting point, where did that start for you? Or where did you get your motivation from to be as dedicated as you have been?
You know what? It started at a very young age. Like I'm sure a lot of people do. I'm not sure if passion is just, you're not born with it. It's worked on and it's found.
Right.
So I played competitive tennis and other sports at a high level, and then I started coaching tennis. And so I started coaching at 14. Wow. I was a tennis pro at the age of 17 or 18 coaching. So, and then I went to university to study, philosophy and pre-law. So you'll see a lot of like principles and philosophy come out of me. And then I was just like, I don't want to be a lawyer.
Right.
Like I was on the court, like I was an athlete. I love to coach. I love the weight room. I love, so it came a point where after I finished my degree in philosophy, I was like, man, I got to do what I got to do.
Right.
And it just felt good to go back and get nutrition, get training under my belt, mentor under some of the greats, get my foot in the door, and then yeah, I think for so long, fitness industry has just been so fitness focused.
Right.
What's the best exercise for this?
Right.
How can I get the least amount of, or do the least amount of effort and get the best result? That's just always been the motto.
Right.
But now we know that so many more people are focused on just feeling great.
Right.
Because I've looked great, I've been lean, but I've also been miserable.
That's a real, sorry, Marcus, that's a really, really important point, right? That, and I think it kind of goes back to a little bit about, why we're doing what we're doing, but the happiness and how you feel, which is underneath everything, is so critical.
Precisely. Who cares? Who cares if you look amazing and you can be on the cover of Men's Health or
Right.
Women's, health magazine, but if you're not, fulfilled on the inside based on the person you're becoming, what's the point?
Right.
So fitness has still to this day, you look on Men's Health, it's like the best bicep blaster, same with women. It's like, okay, 3 ways to sculpt for summer, whatever it is. And I take a much more now looking at the data, and so after overseeing thousands of clients, just looking at what actually works and what does work. Well, training and movement is really important,
Sure.
but we control the way we eat. We control the way we sleep. We control the way we breathe, right? And then we also control our environment, like the people we surround ourselves.
Right.
So if we want to, my motto is, my tagline with my business is helping people go from survival mode to thrive mode. If you want to be in thrive mode and feel good, look good, play good, we got to take care of all of that.
Right. Really, it's the person in a totality, right? Not just one aspect. I mean, when you're training, you're not just training your bicep, alone. It's a whole individual. So that's kind of what you're touching on, right?
Precisely. But I mean, as a man, who doesn't want to have a good set of guns, right? There's something about that where you walk into the room and you feel good about yourself, you're confident. And the interesting thing is the amount of what people will do to feel confident about themselves, right? And competence creates confidence. And so what that means is developing the skills. So if you want to do anything in life, you just got to figure out the skills. You want to be amazing at basketball? Okay, how's your footwork? How's your shooting? How's your defense? How's your offense? How's your teamwork? Those are all skills. And if you just elevate them, you become a pretty good player.
Right.
If you want to be a healthy individual, okay, what are the habits and skills I need to learn? And let's just, repeat and rinse them until they become automatic.
You use one of my favorite words, habits, right? Because that's an important one. I think that's something that feeds into who we are. And in some instances, it becomes what we're known for, gives us a direction. I wonder if you sort of talk about the importance of building good habits.
I think habits are everything. Just from, a background standpoint, habits comes from the Latin word for identity. So people hear, habits are who you are. Habits are what you repeatedly do. So unfortunately, I hate saying unfortunately or leading a sentence with unfortunately, but the reality is by the time you're 35 years old, 95% of your life is run by subconscious behaviors.
Right.
The way you get out of bed, the way you brush your teeth, the way you eat, the way you drink, the way you open the door, all these things are just automatic. And you got to think of these as little roads that your car is driving each day, and it just knows. Sometimes you don't even realize how you got home from work. It was just automatic.
Yeah.
So when it comes to habits, this is something we dial in big time, because we know that if we want to take our life and our health to the next level, we got to fix the holes in your armor.
Right.
If you go to the gym all the time, but you struggle with nutritional habits, that's a hole in your armor, and we won't be able to get to where we want to go unless we fix that hole.
Right.
And there's so much, we got James Clear, with, there's so much amazing, you got BJ Fogg, you got so much amazing literature on habits. I think the best approach from my perspective is when a client comes into our programs, comes into Perform,
Right.
we just work on their main villain. What's holding them back.
Right.
And we just figure that out. Like, oh, I'm not sleeping very well. I have no energy. Okay. We're going to skill it and drill it. But hey, like, I think it's not about how many days a habit takes to develop. It's how many reps you put in. If you go to the golf course and you swing the club a great way for a certain thousands and thousands of time, by the time you start hitting the course, you're going to be pretty good.
You know, it makes you sort of, when you sort of talk about the formation of habits, and you're absolutely right. It's that repetition. You know, it's not the thing that you do one time. It's the thing that you do all the time, over and over and over again. But sometimes the identification of the bad habits, that's a huge task in itself. You know, you've gone through your whole life, you do these things that are just a part of you. It's what you do. And all of a sudden you've got to evaluate those. That process is tough. I like you when you just said, we just figure it out, but it's actually really tough, isn't it?
Yeah. Well, there's a ton of friction.
Right.
You know, okay, I set this goal. What am I willing to do to get there? What am I not willing to do to get there? And if I'm not willing to cut out some of these bad habits, that means we're not going to get there. That's cool. That's your decision.
Right.
But it absolutely is like cutting out the negative. When we start talking about, you know, think about the modern society, lots of alcohol, lots of hyper palatable foods, lots of sitting, you know, all these things that are really comfortable. It's easy to sit all day. Sure. It's easy to order Uber Eats. It's easy to drink wine or have a couple of beers every single night. That's easy. So cutting those things out and replacing some healthier habits is hard. It is hard.
Yes.
That's why the majority of the world is, or North America at least, is overweight and overstressed and probably not feeling their best.
Right. You know, we touched on earlier on happiness and, you know, the importance of, it's great to look good on the outside, but if you're not happy inside, then I'd say it defeats the purpose, if you will. I know that's strong language, but I certainly think that, that's how important, you know, our happiness is to our overall well-being from a confidence standpoint, how we carry ourselves, and then how we can impact others. I don't know if you sort of expand a little bit further on just the significance of living a happy life.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, what's the point? Right. You know, like, what's the point if we're not waking up with a smile on our face, with a sense of gratitude, and of course there's strategies to become a more fulfilled person, or to be in essence happiness. Like, the truth is we're just a bunch of chemical reactions, and through lifestyle choices that you can actually change them for the better. Right. We know our physiology dictates our psychology. When you go for a walk, when you spend time with people, when you spend time with when I spend time and go hiking with my dog, like, there's a ton of great feelings, right? I feel happy. So if you can map your days out with things that fulfill you, things that you're looking forward to. You know, a wise family friend always had 5 things they look forward to, 5 trips. And this is a strategy, you know, I work with a lot of it, you know, busy professional men, execs and stuff like that. And they're feeling stressed during the day. I'm like, go on Airbnb and just plan your next vacation.
Okay.
Because or shop for something, just go on something that's going to build a car, whatever it is, watch, because that action is actually almost as fulfilling, if not just as fulfilling, as going on the vacation.
Got you. I think too, with a lot of people, because there's people walking around here at Marcus that don't even know that they're not even happy, They just know they're kind of almost like zombies, sort of just going through the motions of life, and not really, living up to their potential of all that it offers. And so on this podcast, we talk a lot about being audacious in the sense of living your best audacious life and going after things that you're meant to. Because if you're doing that, it actually serves two purposes. It fulfills you, but also has the ability to inspire and impact other people.
Yeah, absolutely. Like, why not? Like at your funeral, what do you want people to say about you? What kind of impact did you have? What kind of legacy did you live? Who did you bring up? It's about reaching forward for the things you want in life, like what's ahead and all your goals, while bringing people up with you.
Right.
So it's this hand reaching hand pulling. But yeah, people just don't know. I didn't know. And sometimes it just takes spending the right time or right amount of time with some amazing people like yourself, or listening to these types of podcasts and stuff like that, to be like, oh, wow, I just didn't know I could do that.
Right.
Like, think about all the amazing, like, there's controversial opinions about Elon Musk and people like that in the world, but like, they just open the doors to say, wow, that is possible to do. Cool.
Right.
So I think we're all governed by some limiting beliefs. I'm the first one to admit it. I have limiting beliefs about myself, about my abilities, and working through those is I think one of the best strategies you can do to unlock your, as you would say, unlock your potential.
Yeah. The limiting beliefs, I'm so glad you touched on that, because I think that's a big one for a lot of people, right? I oftentimes talk about the conversations that we have in our heads with ourselves, and how much sometimes we beat ourselves up or tell ourselves we're not worthy or we're not possible or we're not deserving. And so I think the whole idea of sort of, it's not just a one thing here. I mean, you've got to sort of, recognize what's happening inside of you, right? And being able to either interrupt the conversations or stop them altogether. And that's how you deal with those limiting beliefs, I would say. Any other, do you have another sort of take on that? Or what would you, if you look at, challenging these beliefs, what would you add to it?
Yeah. So there's something in psychology called negativity bias.
Okay.
And negativity bias is something that is meant to keep us alive. And our main goal as humans is to do two things. Is there cussing on this podcast?
You're free to go.
Okay. We're supposed to feed and fuck. Okay. That's the only things, right? And what that means is just keeping our species alive. And what that means is always looking out for danger. So we're always looking out for danger. We're always seeking the negative. Naturally, that's part of our biology.
Right.
That's the reason why you walk past a stick and you think it's a snake, but you'll never walk past a snake and think it's a stick. So you need to understand that most of the thoughts you have per day, something like 80,000 thoughts per day.
Wow,
and 65,000 of those, correct me if I'm wrong, we'll go back on it. 65,000 of those are negative. And 95% are the same as the day before. We'll run those numbers, but it's something like that, something crazy.
Yeah.
So understanding that your self-talk, you spend a lot of time in your brain. It might as well be a nice place to be.
Sure. I agree.
I
agree.
Make it a nice place.
I always say that we've got to be more gracious with ourselves and we be more forgiving ourselves, especially when we mess up, right? Or we don't do something right, or we could have done something better. Like, we're the first ones to beat ourselves up half the time.
Self-compassion, man. And just like not looking at mistakes and just thinking it as lessons. Like, oh, I screwed up. Good. I'm learning. Like, it's perspective is everything, especially with stress management. Like, people, like, we live in a stressed society. Of course we do. We're moving fast. Our brains aren't just, the best way to look at it is our brains are like, Windows 95, and the modern world is like the supercomputer. Like, we're not ready for it.
Right.
you're getting all this information, all this negative news, especially in the last 2 years.
Yes, for sure.
Right? You're not moving. You're not putting good food in your body. Of course, you feel like crap. What do you expect?
Right.
Like living an audacious life or being in thrive mode, as I talk about, is actually walking the unbeaten path.
Right. Right. Yeah. Absolutely.
This is where our world is going. You got to go this way, and hopefully you can bring some other people with you.
Yeah. I love that thrive more, and I was gonna ask you a bit to expand on it a bit further, because I really think there's some even value for listeners in understanding how important that can be, and again, not for just for ourselves. The other thing I talk a lot about here is how our actions, and we could be very well looking after ourselves through our actions, but they still can resonate with others in profound ways. And so I'd love to hear if you talk a little about thrive mode and even how you landed on that.
Yeah, that's a great question. So I think it's deeply rooted in my story. So one of the things I left out in my career at the beginning, so I came from being not a professional, but like an athlete that a tennis pro and loving to play sports and having that obsessive behavior. And then I went to university, and unfortunately that obsessive behavior turned to drugs and alcohol. And I really pushed that needle. I was a bartender. I was hanging out with the wrong people. And then I really developed a horrible panic disorder, and with that, depression. So when I was 21 years old, I went from this feeling amazing, looking great in high school, super athletic, to by the time I was 21, 22, like I'd put on weight. I couldn't get out of bed. I was addicted to alcohol. I was like in survival mode.
Right.
I hated the way I felt. I hated the way I looked. We talked about not being happy. I actually didn't think I was going to make it to 30. That's how bad my mental health was.
Wow.
So throughout my career, like obviously health and fitness has had a huge impact on my ability to overcome anxiety, overcome my limitations and all that stuff. And so what I've made and what I've created with Perform is designed to get people out of this feeling of, it's almost like misery of self-sabotage. Right. And what I talk about thrive mode, the best analogy is like when most of my guys come to see me, they're Neo at the start of the Matrix, right? They're scattered. And then by the end, they feel great, right? They're on point. Right. They're thriving in life in a body they love.
I love it. I love the Matrix reference. Awesome.
Yeah, you got it.
And again, I think when you can do that and get it, it almost sort of creates this invincible feeling, so to speak, right? When you're in that mode and, things are clicking and everything's working and, you feel good about yourself and where you are in the world. I really think that's kind of, we talk about the sweet spot, right? I think that's a real ideal sweet spot to be in.
Yeah. I hope everybody can feel it. It's going to take time. It's going to take persistence. But at the end of the day, we're all the same. You have the tools, resources, it's not about, on the internet, you can find anything you want. You can read every single book. You can listen to any single podcast, but it's up to you to be resourceful and take action.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. Working with clients, it must be such a thrill for you when you get them to that goal, get that point where, they were, or the thing that they were chasing. I'm imagining that's a feeling that never gets old.
Yeah. Here's the thing is I care more about my clients' results than probably they do. Like we have a money back guarantee. Like we go hard, right? Because we're committed to the process. But yeah, we have some people, we're literally saving some people's lives.
Wow.
All right. Like people come to us and they're on blood sugar medication. Hey,
right.
Through lifestyle, like we can get you off. And we've done it plenty of times, right? Where people on the brink, it's unfortunate that the modern, or at least Canadian medical field, and I don't want to speak too poorly about it, is like, they're in the business of getting you sick, from sick to not sick, but not to optimal living.
Right.
And that's what we are, right? We're not sick to optimal living.
Right.
And the reality is most people don't take action on their health until something like traumatic happens. They get told by their doctor that, hey, your time here is limited if you don't do this.
Right.
Maybe they have a passing in the family that could have been prevented. All of a sudden they sign up for the gym. So what I urge people to do is take action, because it's inevitable. If you don't take care of your health, poor things will come. And unfortunately, it's nobody's going to do it for you, right? The motto these days is you got to do it yourself, but you can't do it alone.
I like that. Right. Actually. I like that.
You write that down.
Yeah. You got to do it yourself. Yeah, you got to do it yourself, but you don't have to do it alone.
Yeah, you got to do it yourself, but you can't do it alone.
Yeah, you can't do it alone. I like that.
Yeah.
So, okay. So someone comes in and well, I was thinking the fitness concept, but whether it's someone's looking to build, wealth and health in their lives. What's the starting point, Marcus?
Yeah. So of course there's 4 pillars of what we look at. We look at mindset.
Yeah.
We talked about behavior change. Are they ready to change? Do they have a great vision for themselves? The human brain is this amazing tool that can visualize a future better self. We're the only animal that can do that.
Yep.
Then we want to attack recovery, which is sleep, stress management, breathing. Then we want to attack nutrition. Nutrition is a big challenge these days,
sure,
because there's so many implications: personal preference, social implications, potentially religious, all that kind of stuff.
Yep.
Maybe some phobias or some restrictive mindsets around, hey, carbs make me fat, or all that kind of stuff. And then of course we train, right? I hate the word workout because it has the word work in it. People work out, it sounds laborsome. No, I want you to go to the gym and I want you to actually enjoy it. People don't need motivation to watch their favorite TV show, do they?
Not at all.
So we got to figure out a way to make training enjoyable so you actually look forward to doing it. It's not, right? Like when we frame it as, hey, I overate this weekend, so on Monday I'm going to do a 2-hour session, I'm going to crush it this week. Like, sorry, it's bullshit. Like, use fitness as a way to, get better in your body, get stronger, push performance,
right? And
use lifestyle interventions to optimize the way your body looks and feels.
I think people don't necessarily always recognize that, Marcus, and that connection that you just described. The mind and the body, they very much are and can be in sync with one another. But they got to kind of be activated, and it starts here with the mindset and being able to, whether it's visualize what you're going after, or writing it down, whatever that is. But you have to be very clear on where you're going and where you want to take your body to, don't you?
Yeah, like the clearer the image and the more specific the goal, the more likely it's going to happen. And we talked about repetition.
Yep.
We get our clients to write down their goals every single morning or every single day, because our goals are set consciously, but they're achieved subconsciously. If I ask one of my clients or anything like that, I'm like, what are you working on? It's like, I'm working on this, because I want it to be top of mind, because most people's health is at the bottom of the list. It's not a priority. Right. And our goal is to bring it to the top of the list, because how the hell are we supposed to show up for people we care about if we can't take care of ourselves?
Right.
We must lead by example. We must be our healthy. And people think, oh, it's, hey, I'm taking away from my family's time. It's like, can you give me 4% of your day for yourself?
Right.
So the day is 24 hours long. Training for 45 minutes to an hour is 4% of your day. I don't have time. Okay, let me see your phone. Let me see your app usage. Let me see how many episodes of Netflix you're watching a week. I don't have time, as people saying. It's just not a priority, because we make time for the things we care about.
Yeah. What's your screen time, right? That'll answer all the questions right there.
Yeah, I call people out all the time for that.
I love it.
Hey, man, I deeply care about my clients' goals and success, but of course I'm very direct, because you have these trainers who are soft, and I am compassionate, of course, but I also really care about you, and I want to make sure that we get to where we want to go. And you've come up from the background of sports,
Right.
Coaching.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Listen, coaching. I wonder, Marcus, if you can give me your definition of coaching, because I know there's different sort of approaches and certainly philosophies. But I wonder if you can start with sort of how you define coaching.
Yeah, that's a great question. I think for coaching, I always view so I'm in the Rockies or Vancouver. I'm looking out North Vancouver. There's rocks, there's mountains, right? And most people's goals, a lot of people like, oh, I want to achieve all these goals, and they try and be they're trying to go after so many things at once. I want you to pick one mountaintop. We're gonna attack one mountaintop at a time. Very hyper focused. And I'm not going to be at the top of the mountaintop yelling at you to keep climbing. I'm going to climb this thing with you. I'm going to take you by the arm and climb it with you. And I promise you, there's going to be blowing snow. I promise you, there's going to be ice. I promise you, we're going to slide back, right? There's going to be harsh times. We might even lose some cold gear,
right?
But we're going to make it to the top. I know that's more of a story time of coaching, but that's how I view it.
Right.
Because there's a big difference between mentorship and coaching. Mentor is I want to find someone who's done exactly what I want to do, and I just want to model them.
Right.
A coach is, okay, this is where I want to go. Here are some skills I need to develop. Let me get my coach to help me develop these skills in order to achieve a specific result.
Yeah. Oftentimes those skills are there, and the coaches just helped unlock them, right? They were always there. We just had to actually go and do it, right? So that's another piece of coaching.
Yeah. I'm sure there's so many things that you're already doing in your life that are super special.
Yep.
That maybe no one else can do at your level. And we can use those skills. Maybe you're amazing at organization. Great. Let's organize your fridge.
Sure. That's amazing. Yeah, no, you can drill it down to all different levels, and I think it makes sense. I've heard. Now you also podcast, right? So I want to make sure we get a plug. Maybe you can tell us about your podcast and what you do there, because I have had a chance to check it out. I think you do a good job, and really making it clear for people. But yeah, why don't you talk about your podcast a little bit there, Marcus?
Sure. So I understand that there is a lot of people in the world that may not be able to afford health coaching. And that's just the truth, is most people that need it most can't afford it. So the main goal of the podcast is it's free coaching. It's for me to share best practices when it comes to mindset, training, nutrition, recovery, so that you can achieve thrive mode. The truth is, a lot of the world is overworked and overstressed and undernourished and underexercised, and I don't want you to be one of those people.
Yeah. No, I hear you. Great point, Marcus. And I think many would value and benefit from that. So again, listen, as a podcaster myself, I know the work that goes into making these things happen, and that's why I wanted to make sure you had an opportunity to talk about that. Maybe we can tell our listeners where they can find more about you, or even catch up with your podcast.
Absolutely. So the podcast is Thrive Mode Radio. We're on Spotify, iTunes, every platform available. Best place probably to get great content if you're looking to training nutrition is I run a pretty, I think, let's call it valuable Instagram account. And that's just my first and last name at Marcus Mackay, Mackay. And then if you want to check out our coaching programs, it's www.marcusmackay.co. Awesome.
Marcus, man, it's been a really cool chat, and I'm glad that you rolled through and hung out and sort of gave your perspective on just fitness and not just about fitness, but I think how it fits into our lives and can help make us better, and not just physically but mentally. And again, we talked earlier about that mental piece and the mindset, how important that is. And I think by spending some time talking about that is definitely useful for people. So thank you for being here.
And thanks so much for having me. And I hope it was valuable for your listeners and for you.
For sure, for sure. Marcus, be well, take care. We'll see you soon.
Thanks, man.
Back we are here on the podcast, and I send my thanks out to Marcus for joining me here and offering up some great insights on not only just fitness and health, but also that the mental aspects to us stepping into that picture of health that we all want for ourselves. Really appreciated the conversation on habits, and I'd encourage you to check him out on Thrive Mode Radio, which of course is his podcast where Marcus offers up basically free coaching. And I got to tell you, I've had an opportunity to check out quite a few of his episodes and really some down-to-earth stuff that is all practical and useful. So thank you, Marcus, for being here, and I appreciate all of your work. You know, when I reflect on my conversation with Marcus, he really left us with a lot of great things. But if there's just one thing that I take from my conversation with him, it would be this. Having healthy habits can be a very good thing. You know, when you drive to work or go through your morning routine, there's very little time spent thinking about what you need to do or how you need to get there. It's habitual. But sometimes habits can lead us astray, whether it's turning to comfort food when we're sad or embracing an addictive habit when we feel stressed. Since habits take practice and repetition to form, the same is true when it comes to breaking them. While there's a variety of different steps to break habits, such as identifying or removing the triggers, replacing bad habits with positive ones, or enlisting the support of others, the most effective approach would be to focus on why you want to make that change. What is it that you're trying to accomplish? When you have a better reason to quit a habit, you've suddenly given your actions much needed purpose, and that will help you maintain your focus on whatever it is that you're trying to accomplish. So if living an audacious life is your goal, your habits will help you get there. Hey, listen, if you haven't registered for email notifications of the podcast, please know that you can do so simply by heading over to bestaudaciouslife.com, enter in your email address, and you'll be alerted every time we've got brand new content that comes out. We've reached the end of another awesome episode, and big shout out to our amazing listeners, all those lovers of audaciousness. So much appreciate your support and encouragement, and as long as you keep giving, we will keep doing the same here at this end. Until next time, stay safe, be kind, show love to one another, and be audacious.
You've been listening to the Audacious Living Podcast, hosted by Audley Stevenson. If you enjoyed what you heard, be sure to like, subscribe, and share. Until next time, be audacious.